Hello, and welcome to another video about Neon Chiaroscuro. Um, the playtest happened. It bombed. Uh, so I'll be spending some time going through various notes, which I actually have 5 screens of notes, or roughly almost 5 screens of notes. Um, I don't plan on going through all of them, but uh, so let's start off with. Uh, the game was incoherent. Uh, so that means that part of it was designed for action, part of it wasn't really an action-oriented game. It was more of a thoughtful based sort of game. And believe me, that does not mix well. Uh, and yes, the action worked well. In fact, it was one of the only things that worked well. But what do you do? Um, the other thing that worked well was masks, and that feature worked remarkably well. So, masks I had on the character sheet, little bits of folded up paper, which would sit at 90 degrees and tell people what you looked like. And on the book, you'd have written things like your name or what you'd be known as in the context of that organization, where the organization was based, etc. Um, but there was a problem. It represented it's just a generic mask. It needed to not be generic. It needed you to have a reputation with each of these organizations, and that is something that needs to be thought about uh, beforehand. Um, materialism. Materialism was a problem. There was too much of it. Now, this doesn't mean that it was a game about materialism. It wasn't. This was quite possibly the least materialistic cyberpunk game. Well, possibly the second least materialistic. Lasers and feelings might have been less materialistic. But no, no. Um, it needed to be reduced. Uh, so, um, to expand, the contacts. I had set up a couple of contacts, assuming that your character would start with none and then build up contacts. I didn't even provide enough contacts within the game for the scenario. Uh, so, um, design a better scenario. Yes, that was very much a problem. Although I think that's more of a problem on the personal end rather than with the game design itself. Uh, but the game did have several obstacles in the way of the characters. One of which was getting found out and possibly disappeared or killed. Um, Second was deaths and povertyism. And then there was, um, yeah, I forget. But too many obstacles means that players tend to get timid, and that is not a good thing. So in the future, I'm going to refocus the game, or if I ever attempt it again, and basically lay it out flat out. This is a or conspiracy game where you play a conspirator and set up the entire system around assuming that you are the person playing the conspirator, and then you take on various covers. Um, let's see here. The Setting. Oh, the setting needed to be a lot more limited. Six corporations and various uh, secondary rebellious institutions and things like that, as well as themes of slavery and et cetera, et cetera. It was just too big. Um, I've since learned that Android, as fantastic as the setting as it is not really a role-playing game setting, um, which makes me reevaluate other games like Weapons of the Gods and etc. Although I suspect that it's a little bit more limited because you're focusing on one particular aspect, which is common. Uh, so yeah, it was more problematic than what problems I had discovered in working with the setting. And yes, I managed to ignore the distance. Um, it was easy enough. But uh, let's see here. Uh, oh, one thing that I did was focus on making the characters feel real, like real people. Not a good idea. Realism is not the goal of most role-playing games. Um, Instead, I should have focused on the nuances of uh, the anti-colonialism and the colonialism in general, and just said, no, you are freedom fighters, and first and foremost, and basically set it up so that the goal of what your character wanted to do was much clearer, much more straightforward, as opposed to just writing in three different places like, this is your goal, this is your goal, this is your goal. No one wrote. And so that was a problem. Spire, for example, is very clear, makes it very clear that you're members of a resistance organization, and that is your basic character concept. That was not the concept of in Neon Chiaroscuro. So, let's see here. In terms of dice, yes, I could vary the dice a little bit here and there. But it's not really an action-oriented game, and I built a very high action-oriented base system, and that was a problem. That was my mistake because it was designed to uh, consider that it was designed to generate adventures, much more action-oriented adventures. It worked. That really wasn't the story I was going for. And so, yeah, that was a bit of a mistake on my part. I would have been much better going for a much slower system, something that forced the players to take the time to consider their actions. And uh, yeah, so um, yeah, various various things regarding contacts and pushing the goals of the characters as well. But overall, I've decided to put it aside for now and work on a new version of Metropole Luxury Coffin. Simplified, about half the size of the original game, and that's basically what I'm gonna work on for the next bit. expect to see a video on it. And I'm also have been delaying making videos on things like uh, advice in role-playing games, uh, and how I think it improves the game. And if it was actually worked into Neon Chiaroscuro, it's worked into the new version of Metropole Luxury Coffin, and uh, etc. Um, but if you don't read the advice, it doesn't exist. So, and convention games, people don't have the time to read the advice. So, um, yeah, it needs to be short. So, uh, until next session.